Hey writers, welcome to the Writing Lab with Eva Pohler. Hi there, I'm Eva Pohler, a USA Today best-selling author of over 45 novels, a writing professor for over 3 decades, and an editor. And today I'm diving into one of my favorite aspects of craft, sentence style, and how to make your prose sing. First, I want to explain that our sentence structure is kind of like our wardrobe in that most of us have a ton of clothes, but we only wear about 30% of them. The rest of them may be formal wear or gym clothes, fat clothes, skinny clothes, tons of t-shirts, all kinds of items that we have in our closet or in our drawers that we never wear. And the same is true with our sentence structure. We know a bunch of different types of sentence structures, but we tend to rely on, almost like a crutch, the same patterns over and over. And this can be very tedious to readers. So, for example, when I was in college, I remember learning that I had a syntactical habit of writing a dependent clause followed by an independent clause. So, for example, my sentences tend to sound like this. After reaching for the gun, the sheriff pulled the trigger. While driving past the cemetery, she felt a sudden chill. Although he said he'd be there, he never showed. So it's always da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And that becomes very monotonous if that's the main structure that we're using over and over in our writing. It will lull our listeners and our readers to sleep. There's nothing wrong with that particular structure, nothing at all. It's very effective, but used too often, it can wear out its welcome. So what do? Well, we want to try, just like we might mix up our outfits and try wearing different clothes, a dress one day, jeans the next, we can mix up our sentences to make our prose vibrant. And so here are some things to focus on. And there are 3 main things I recommend that you focus on: sentence openings, sentence lengths, and sentence types. Let's take these one by one. Sentence openings. Vary how you begin your sentence. Now, over the years, you can do this with first draft writing. I'm at the point now where I do this with first draft writing, but if you're just getting started, you might want to wait and do this during your revision, okay? So that you don't slow down your creative juices. You know, you want to get the story out first and then go back and look for ways to vary your sentence openings. And I still do this during revision too, but I'm often thinking about my sentence openings as I'm also writing, but that's because I've been doing this for a really long time. But so here are some examples of how you can vary your sentences. Don't always start with the subject or a dependent clause like I used to. Try leading with a prepositional phrase, an adverb, participial phrase, or even an interjection. So here are some examples. Subject first. The sheriff pulled the trigger. Prepositional phrase first. In the dead of night, the sheriff pulled the trigger. Adverb first. Suddenly, the sheriff pulled the trigger. Participial phrase first. Trembling with fear, the sheriff pulled the trigger. Small changes, big differences in rhythm. Okay? Moving on to sentence lengths. You want to make sure you combine short, punchy lines with longer, flowing ones to create rhythm and emphasis. So here's an example. He ran. He didn't look back. Behind him, chaos unfurled like a storm made of fire and blood. So it starts with a sentence that's short and jarring, then goes to a middling sentence and ends with one that's long and lyrical. And together, they create music. The last thing to focus on is trying different sentence types. And 2 of my favorites include the periodic and the cumulative. The periodic withholds the main clause till the very end. It builds up suspense and draws the reader in. And here's an example of a periodic sentence. Even though the lights flickered, the floorboards groaned, and a cold wind whispered through the open window, she stepped into the haunted room. So the periodic has the independent clause by the period. That's how I remember the difference between periodic and cumulative. The independent clause, the main clause, is by the period at the end. And there are these different phrases that are building up to that main clause, okay? it's a really great technique to try in your revision, during your revision process. So let's look at my other favorite, which is the cumulative sentence. And this one is just the opposite. You start with the main clause and then you add different phrases to kind of like include more detail and elaboration. And so here's an example. She stepped into the haunted room, her breath shallow, her flashlight trembling in her grip, every instinct screaming at her to run. Both these sentence types add great drama to your writing and make your prose more vibrant and dynamic. These are things that you can do during your revision strategy. Go back and look at your sentence openings, your sentence links, and your sentence types, and see how you can revise to make your prose more dynamic. Here are a few quick tips to keep your sentence style engaging. Read your work loud. If it sounds repetitive, it probably is. Highlight your sentence openings. If most of them start the same way, revise them. Use sentence variety strategically. Short sentences for impact, long sentences for immersion. So to sum up, just like a good wardrobe, good syntax is all about options. Mix and match, dress up or down, surprise your reader with a splash of style. Sentence variety breathes life into your writing. It creates rhythm, mood, and momentum. It keeps your reader turning pages, and not just for what you say, but how you say it. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love it if you subscribed and left a comment for me about maybe what you think your syntactical habit is, or what your favorite sentence structure is. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy writing. Bye-bye.